Hello everybody, my name is Joost.
And I'm Ruth, and we are pilots for Mission Aviation Fellowship in Kenya.
Yes, and in this video we would like to tell you a little bit about our history before we joined MAF and how I came to faith and how we joined MAF eventually. So when I was a small kid, I didn't know the Lord, I didn't know Jesus, but I knew one thing, that I wanted to become a pilot. Well, my first flight was at 12 years old, sightseeing flight in the Netherlands. And I started flying when I was 16, my first solo at 16. And then eventually, through the KLM Flight Academy, I could join KLM as a co-pilot on the Fokker 70. And that was in 2001. And I've been in KLM for 22 years.
I did grow up in a Christian family, but I also had a strong desire to become a pilot when I already was a young girl. After my flight training, I became first a flight instructor for 6.5 years, and after that I also joined KLM, which I flew for 15 years. In the early weeks of flying with KLM, I met Joost. He was my captain on the flight and I was the co-pilot. And after a few weeks we had a date and we hit it off.
Yes.
And a few years later we married and we got 2 beautiful children. Naud, who is 11 years old, and Annemijn, who is 8 years old.
Hi!
Even though I was brought up in a Christian family, I left the church in my late teens and I went my own way for a few years. After I married Joost, I started to look for God again and found a new personal relationship. I was watching church services on the television, and later on I found a very nice church close to our home. But Joost was not a Christian, and I prayed hard that he would meet God as well.
Yeah, and I watched some of those church services and they were okay. And I joined you to the church once with Easter, and I found it a good atmosphere there, but I wasn't really interested. But then through a quite miraculous chain of events where Ruth met a missionary couple in Brazil, a Dutch missionary couple in Brazil, then things started happening because I saw things happening in her life, answers to prayer, and also the way she met this couple, who actually was a couple that the guy was a former drug lord, and he was visited in his cell by God when he was in prison, and he walked into the prison as a drug lord, and he walked out of the prison as an evangelist. It's a miraculous story, and he wrote this book about this, and I read this book, and I met him in person. And actually this person was the first one who could just explain to me really in plain language what the gospel is about, and that it also is for me, that Jesus also died for me on the cross. And I had never heard that story before in that way. So then I said, yeah, let me show me what this God is like. I'm interested. So we prayed for it, and I officially became a Christian, I guess.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, but initially I was just in the church and serving in the media team, and I thought that would be my role. But I was reading the Bible and watching sermons on YouTube and that sort of thing, and there were a couple of things that were really resonating with me, and for both of us actually, we were thinking about what is God's plan for our life, because now this happened, must be for a reason, right? So what is our role in this whole body of Christ? So we were really thinking about that and praying about it, and what resonated with me was the Bible verse where Jesus calls these fishermen and they just drop their nets and they follow him, and that really resonated with me.
So half a year after Joost became a Christian, we saw this testimony on YouTube of a Dutch MAF pilot. And before she was a scientist, and now she was becoming a pilot for MAF. And we thought that was an amazing story. And we met up with her to see what her full testimony was, to see if we could support her. And we also met former MAF pilots, and we heard all these stories. And we're like, wow, this is a great organization. Joost actually never heard of them, and I did meet former MAF pilots, so I knew a little bit about the organization. But we dug deeper, like how the organization started in 1945 and the whole history behind it, and it really touched us.
Yeah, so we were very impressed with MAF as an organization and the way they operated their airplanes, and it all looked very professional. They seem to know what they're doing, so yeah, we were just very supportive of them. So we went home thinking, okay, we're going to support this young lady, and then she can become a MAF pilot. It's great. But in the weeks after, it was just something in my heart was burning. It was like I felt in love or something, and it was like saying to myself, come on, this is crazy. I mean, it's because it's with airplanes, and you love that since you were a kid, so it will probably go away, and let them do it, and just support them. But it wouldn't go away. It would only get stronger, and my heart was burning with a desire, and I was like, what is happening to me? and after about 2 weeks keeping it for myself, I talked to Ruth, and I said, I don't know what's happening, because I'm just on fire about MAF, and I don't know what's happening. And then what did you say?
I said, I have the same.
Yeah. Yeah, and that really struck me, because I thought, well, if we both have this same thing, and we had never had any tendency to be missionaries or to go to developing countries or do anything like that. So it was just so weird that we both had this feeling that we really wanted to engage in this. So we were thinking, okay, this must be God calling us to do something. But we were like, really? Do we need to become MAF pilots now? Because we have 2 really good airline pilot jobs, and it's like the dream job we've always wanted, and now we have to give it up and go, well, where would we go? We wouldn't know. So we felt that he was calling us, but we were a bit in denial, and
well, we were also unsure about it. So what we did is we prayed about it, we talked to our pastors, we visited quite some families that formerly worked for MAF, and we were especially interested how that worked for their children, also when they returned to the Netherlands. And we also went to the flight school of MAF in the Netherlands to renew our license so that we can fly on small airplanes. And that's when we got to know the MAF organization even more. So what procedures do they use, and how strongly they feel about safety, and we were really impressed by that. But it was still a big decision. So we actually hoped for this audible voice from heaven that said, Ruth and Joost, go work for MAF. But that didn't come.
Do it.
Yes. So, but what he did say was, you have to move, otherwise I cannot steer you. And that's what we did.
Yes.
We took steps in faith, and the doors kept opening, and that's when we said, yes, MAF, we will go abroad and be missionaries.
We have been in Kenya here for 1.5 years now, and it's good to be here. We feel that we are in the right place, and the kids are doing well in school and making friends, so we are very happy about it. And we've gone through a lot of slow processes with converting our licenses to Kenyan ones and getting work permits, but we are now up to speed. So we are now flying throughout Kenya to very remote places that are also in this country, and we are also supporting our pilot team in Juba in South Sudan. We are very grateful how God has led this all and how this all came about, and we are looking forward to what he has in store for us in the future. And we are ready to spread his love throughout all the isolated places that are here in Africa.
Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.